So my name is Jeppe. I'm with New Banking. I'm the COO there. I'm here to present Dropbox for identity data. So the problem. Regulators are facing huge issue within privacy, within keeping anti-money laundering laws up to date. And this is something that the banks and the financial institutions are being hit by every day. So any of you watched Mark Zuckerberg trying to explain how technology works to old people yesterday? There's no question that you will see a huge wave of regulation within privacy as well. End users have today no control of their data. They have no idea what identity data has been shared with who. And also regulators have a hard time following up on ensuring that the banks and financial institutions are keeping compliant. So we have built a Dropbox, an advanced Dropbox for identity data. The end user owns his own data. It's uploaded into our platform. We verify the data through third parties. And then in the end, the data is shared with the financial organization that the user wants to onboard with. So this enables one-click onboarding for financial institutions, and it's a safe place where you can always track your data, you know who you have shared it with, and everything is uploaded into our platform. We estimate that the market, our primary market, is around 25 billion US in the Western world within financial organizations. We have a live product now. You can everybody go to newbanking.com to upload and start building your own profile. You can start sharing safely whenever you want to onboard with a lawyer. Already? Wow.
Jeppe, is that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, good job making it relatable. So obviously you can tell 2 minutes is really a short period of time. You don't have to tell your whole story, your whole story in 2 minutes. You just have to connect with somebody at a level that will enable you to encourage maybe a follow-up conversation. And I think you were trying to do that effectively. Maybe one of the tricks that you were using naturally or on purpose was just relating to what's happening today, current events. That can be very useful, very effective. But be careful though, because it could also be confusing. It could also take people to lead. You could lead people the wrong way. It started to make me think about things that maybe your company doesn't do. Just be careful, but I think you were doing a good job there. The challenge, I think, in trying to have an elevator pitch in talking about what you're doing is that there's a tendency to talk about your product rather than the problem that you're solving. And I think when you have such a short time, it's better to just talk about the problem because it's something that people can usually more quickly understand. Plus, it's more important anyway, especially for investors. I think I understand sort of the mechanics. You seem to be you use the word Dropbox in identity description information. I understand sort of the mechanics, but I was left with a whole slew of questions about what exactly is the problem that you're solving. I use a program for passwords, and that also has some things with credit cards that helps me put some financial information automatically so I don't even know whether you're competing with them, whether you're doing the same thing. Again, for me, I would sort of drop the Dropbox analogy perhaps in the elevator pitch to focus a little bit more on the specific problem description for maybe banks and for consumers. Maybe you want to say something else about that?
Well, you hit my first 2 points. I like the currency with the Zuckerberg comment, but I agree that you could be distracted. But that did make it relatable because it drove the point home. Privacy is going to be huge over the next couple of years. So that creates a little bit of urgency. And also, you said Dropbox a couple times. I was a little confused. Are you using Dropbox or are you like Dropbox? So you may want to tighten that up a little bit.
Why don't you tell us about the product or about the problem?
So, I mean, We solve a lot of problems, but if you take it to the bank first, there's a huge wave of regulation, both within AML, anti-money laundering. You have laws, new regulation within privacy. In Europe, we are facing a huge regulation called GDPR, General Data Protective Directive, and you will see this in the US as well. So that's the fundamentals of this. There are a lot of issues within this. Also, we see that the digital process for onboarding new clients is not a good experience for anybody. So it just doesn't work very good out there. And this is for the banks. For the end users, the main issue is you have no control over your identity data. You don't know where it is. It's in your Gmail. You have sent it to a lot of people. And you don't have the right to exercise the right to be forgotten, which is a fundamental thing in the new privacy regulation. The last thing is from a regulatory point of view, there's no streamlining of the customer due diligence process, so it's really hard to make sure that financial organizations are doing the right job on onboarding and the customer due diligence part of onboarding new clients. Basically, everybody who have worked in a bank or have onboarded a financial institution knows that this is a huge problem out there and a lot of money are being spent on ensuring this.
A piece of advice would be to try to focus your problem description, because you still are it seemed like when I tried to ask you the question and you were ready to answer it, you put yourself in answer mode and gave your pitch, which looks like you practiced, looked like you thought about it carefully. But I think the issue is you have to bring it down to a level of specificity that, again, people can understand quickly. I'm not sure that I'm getting it yet. I think you're still talking about too broad of a level. I would suggest that you bring it down to something more specific. Specifically, maybe a use case would be a useful thing. Maybe talking about a user, a problem that a person sees, a problem that somebody at a bank sees, and again, just specifically so that you can convey the notion of what would you be doing that would be beneficial to the customer base. Can you just bring it down a notch?
I would say having a system like ours enables a lot of more business opportunities for the bank, because we remove a lot of complexity from the bank out and delivers it back to the own user. So I don't know if that is more simple.
The problem I have is that I can imagine a bunch of other companies. I could use the same description to describe other things. And what you want to do is be able to clearly describe what you're doing in a way in which it makes it unique. If you sound like you're like many other things, then people are going to just not focus on what you're doing. That's just a piece. I don't know if anybody else has any other suggestions.
I completely agree with this. It's a use case. I'm sitting here thinking, maybe I'm applying for a mortgage loan. All my personal data, financial data is out there in the stock documentation.
So it's one container for all the identity data you need to onboard a financial organization. You have everything in our box. We have verified all the data that is there. And then in the end, you share it with the organization you want to onboard with. So in turn, when you have already onboarded our platform, then it will enable one-click onboarding, right? So the second time you need to enter, you just basically logs into our platform. It will ask you, you need to share this data. Do you want to grant access to this data? Yes, I want to grant access. And then you initiate the relationship with the bank.
Consider this point of view. Is anybody in here worried about the security of their personal data? Everybody, right? So you've got a common pain point with everybody,
Yes.
so you ought to highlight that. But I think the concern before I want to share it with a third party is I want to understand the security. So bring out the benefit to the user. The security is one of those. And then also bring out the benefit to the bank. You're going to lower their costs, right?
Yes.
And also, great point. And you're a startup. For all of us, I mean, if people don't trust Facebook, imagine companies or people trusting a new entrepreneur with a new idea in a new company with an accent.
Yes.
I can relate to that. So I think you have to also be thinking carefully about not trying to solve too big of a problem, maybe trying to solve a very painful problem first to start to grow from there, to develop the credibility. I mean, how would you go about, for example, growing your business, going to market, commercializing it?
So basically, we work with tier 1 banks primarily, so large banks. Right now, we are doing a pilot with the 14th largest bank in the EU, which would comparably be the 7th largest bank in the US. And when you have this customer base, then you get a lot of customers, and the network's effects on our platform is high because once you get onboarded, you can use this to onboard other as well. And you can use this to share your identity data with others as well. So the network's effects are extremely high on this. So basically, we will just need a few banks to do this.
That's the trick though, right? Yeah. So
Yes, the first customer.
So, I mean, your idea is a good one, and you're not the first one to have tried to fix the problem. The question that investors are going to have is, how are you going to get there? How are you going to get to the point where the network effect is such, where you have so many customers, people trust you, that you can then say, okay, now you've gone over the threshold, and now this is the company to invest in.
Yes.
That's going to be the trick. And you have to be able to sort of break that chicken and egg problem, maybe by developing relationships with an early customer, by being really strong in one sector. But that would be, if you have something like that, a key part of the elevator pitch. Let's say, Bank of America has agreed to be a sponsor for your company, and now they're going to use it in all their services. I mean, that changes everything, right? Or something like that. It doesn't have to be such a big entity. I think that would be a useful thing, because credibility and developing that network effect is important. A startup coming up and starting out from the beginning saying, we'll build a network. Investors are simply just going to say, okay, we'll wait and see until you have something.
And I would say basically we spend a lot of time on doing this. In Europe, we are working with the largest financial organization in the Nordics. So that is the Bank of America in Nordics. So this is the perfect client for us. We basically just need this client. We are doing a pilot right now on private banking. If we can solve this problem within private banking clients, we would be able to solve it for the whole of the retail space, right? So this is our strategy. As soon as we have finalized this bank, we will go to London, we will go to US, we will start a US subsidiary, because basically then we have everything covered down there, and we expect the network's effects to begin to kick in, right? Also, I would say that we spend a lot of time on non-client specific relations because we know that we need to build trust in the community. So we spend a lot of time with EU. We are a member of the Payments Commission down there. We spend a lot of time with FATF, which is one of the largest organizations for financial crime in the world. We spend a lot of time on public speaking. And generally, we are also part of the FinTech board with the Danish FSA. So this is all a lot of stuff to ensure that we have trust in the community.
And that is important to use in your pitch, to be able to build credibility. I think
Yes.
that's very useful. You didn't touch on that.
No, 2 minutes.
How many banks do you need to be cash flow positive?
Sorry?
How many banks do you need? How many customers do you need
Just
to
one.
be cash? That's
Not
powerful.
even a tier 1 bank.
So if I'm an investor, I'm excited about that.
Yes.
You have one customer in pilot. If you complete this customer, you're cash flow positive.
Yeah. Then there's no problem.
That's huge. You ought to highlight that.
And we can do with a lot smaller client than the one we are working with now to be cash flow positive. And basically, we still solve a huge problem out there that will enable banks to spend much, much less on their customer due diligence, while at the same time freeing workers to actually begin to do business. Right now, there are some numbers out there saying that around 80% of frontline staff spends more time on compliance than they do customer facing. This is a huge problem.
Yeah, TR had that study that the average bank spends $60 million a year on KYC, know your customer, and AML.
Yes.
So that's a huge market at each bank that you're solving. So maybe how much money would you save a bank if they implemented your solution?
It kind of depends on how large the bank is, but we would save like 80% of this area. So within the bank we're working with right now, they have an idea that the private banking advisors spend around 1 to 1.5 days per week on customer due diligence and ongoing due diligence, and we are a fairly high digitalized bank, so we can save a lot of money.
Is there anything proprietary about your solution?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So we have one patent pending right now, and we have one novelty search that is just finalized. And so basically we will have 2 patents on doing this. So people have tried to solve this problem, but nobody have solved it in a way where they completely turn ownership from the financial organizations of the data back to the individual. This is the fundamental idea on our platform. We are not the new Google. We are not the new Facebook. We cannot go and data mine any data. We don't have access to it. Only you as an end user have access to your own data. And you will know exactly who you share this data with, at what time, and what type of data you have shared.
What are you patenting? I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
We have patented the onboarding process of doing this.
The onboarding process.
This way of onboarding clients with a third-party system, it's a fairly strong patent. We were kind of surprised that it just went through. So if you guys want to distribute it, then now is the time, because it's pending right now. And we have already done a lot of trademarks and all this kind of stuff as well.
I don't know if the panel has any questions or comments.
We have like one final question. I know that there's some blockchain-based projects that are working on handling user data privacy. Do you view a decentralized?
So the competitors out there utilizing blockchains are doing it the wrong way. We are also utilizing blockchains. I didn't touch on this because it's not like super important, but we're doing it the right way. And everybody who digs into our model will accept this. So basically we use blockchain as the top layer of the audit and grant layer. So we will know who had access to what data at what time. It's a distributed blockchain, but the underlying identity data is stored according to local legislation. You will not be able to solve the fundamental problem on a global scale by using blockchain because there's a lot of local laws. Right? So if you need to have this system enabled in Germany, you have to uphold with the local laws in Germany. If you do it in the States, and so forth. So the companies out there trying to solve this on a global scale, they're not compliant, but we are.
Awesome. Let's say thank you to Giuseppe. We're done.